Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is the Reconstruction Amendments, and here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab and take some notes. Please make sure that you have your vocab sheet in front of you before you continue. In the last lesson, you looked at the end of the Civil War, which happened in 1865, and led to the victory of the United States over the Confederate States of America. Today, you'll be looking at what happened right after the Civil War, during a period that we call Reconstruction. Reconstruction was an exciting time during which former slaves gained their freedom and achieved near equality with whites. However, it was brief. It only lasted 12 years, 1865 to 1877. And after it was over, white people took back the rights that those freedmen had gained in that short 12-year period. You will learn more about why Reconstruction ended later on. Let's quickly recap some of the historical time periods you've learned about so far in this unit. The period of history before the Civil War is called the antebellum period. It's from about 1820 to 1860. Then there was the Civil War itself, which lasted for 4 years, from 1861 to 1865. And after the Civil War, from 1865 until 1877, is the period I just mentioned called Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, the federal government of the United States divided the southern states into 5 military districts, with each of those districts under the control of the U.S. military. U.S. soldiers were stationed all over the South in order to keep peace, and especially to ensure that the laws of the U.S., including new laws that granted rights to former slaves, were being followed. So during Reconstruction, troops from the North were stationed in the South. Former slaves are called freedmen. After 1865, there was no more slavery in the U.S., so we're not going to be talking about slaves after that point in time. But we will be talking a lot about the men and women who had been slaves. And from now on, we're going to refer to them by this term, freedmen. The most important laws passed during Reconstruction were 3 amendments that collectively we call the Reconstruction Amendments. And the Reconstruction Amendments are the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment to the Constitution. They all deal with the rights of freedmen. Here's how you can remember the Reconstruction Amendments. Are you ready? Repeat after me. 13, 14, 15, free citizens vote. Try saying that again. 13, 14, 15, free citizens vote. One more time. 13, 14, 15, free citizens vote. If you can remember that little phrase, you can remember these amendments. Let's look at each one. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in all the states. Remember, slavery was still allowed in the border states even after the Confederacy was defeated and after the Emancipation Proclamation. But the 13th Amendment abolished slavery everywhere in the U.S. I remember this amendment by the term free because it freed all slaves. The 14th Amendment has 2 separate ideas in it, and they're both really important. Both of them deal with citizenship. The first part of this amendment is what's called birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship means that no matter who your parents are or where they're from, if you are born on U.S. soil, you are automatically a U.S. citizen. Today, the idea of birthright citizenship usually comes up in the context of immigration, people from other countries. But it was initially passed to impact African Americans. Remember, the Dred Scott decision had said that African Americans were no longer citizens. So birthright citizenship, and this clause in the 14th Amendment, was needed to guarantee citizenship to freedmen. That's the first part of the 14th Amendment. The second part is called the Equal Protection Clause. Equal protection says that the laws of the U.S. will apply to all citizens equally, regardless of their race. And today, the Equal Protection Clause is used to defend the rights not only of African Americans, but also of other groups who face unequal treatment, including women, gays, and the disabled. The Equal Protection Clause is very important, and we will come back to it much later in this year. All right, just to recap, the 14th Amendment includes the ideas of birthright citizenship and the Equal Protection Clause. Since they both deal with citizenship, I remember the 14th Amendment by the term citizens. Finally, the 15th Amendment granted voting rights, also known as suffrage, to all adult male citizens, regardless of race. This allowed African American men to finally vote. Notice that women did not get the right to vote yet. That wouldn't happen until 1920, when the 19th Amendment was passed. I remember the 15th Amendment by the term vote. All right, let's review. 13, 14, 15, free citizens vote. Got it? Now take a moment to look over these amendments and ask yourself, which amendment do you think most changed the lives of former slaves? This is a hard question because all three amendments led to huge changes. Reconstruction was an incredible time during which African Americans in the South exercised their new rights and enjoyed a feeling of equality. Sadly, it only lasted 12 years. In the next lessons, you'll learn about how and why Reconstruction ended. Tune in to find out what happened next. Now it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. I will see you in class. Bye, students.